sorry, I needed to start the recording. Take the poll anytime during the program. And I think that's it. You might want to set your screen to speaker view, which is when you move your cursor, the top right corner, you have the choice of either having the gallery view or the speaker view. And I think for the purposes of the presentations, your speaker view is going to be your best bet. So you might want to do that right now. So my name is Mary Abbott. Lots of you know me, lots of you don't know me, but I'm kind of a volunteer, not kind of a volunteer, I am a volunteer behind the scenes helping J.R. Blair, the director, who's here in the Zoom room at the field campus. If you find him on your screen, he's waving right now. I'm helping him with registration and all kinds of stuff behind the scenes. And I'm also part of the Friends of the Sierra Nevada Field Campus, who formed in 2017 to start raising some money to upgrade the facilities on the campus. So I'll tell you more about that in a second. Now, since we have so many people here in the Zoom room who have not been to the field campus, I just thought I'd give you a really quick overview of what it is. And this campus was established over 70 years ago, but San Francisco State University took it over like 52 years ago. And so our program has been in effect for over 52 years. And what it is a summer program on a campus in the Sierra. It's 11 acres situated on the North Yuba River. It's an absolutely spectacular location. And we're surrounded by an area called the Lakes Basin, where there are these fantastic mountains and just incredible numbers of lakes that are easy to hike to, and waterfalls, lots and lots of water features. We're also right next to the Sierra Valley, if you want to look up any of these places, which is the largest alpine valley in California, but I think possibly in the United States. The Yuba Pass, Downeyville, these are all like key places where all the classes at the field campus go. And we don't have just art classes. We have a number of science classes for credit at the university. We have some miscellaneous classes like fly fishing and hiking. And these are all 1 week classes. And for the most part, we have a few workshops that are just over the weekend, and people stay on campus. And so we have these cute little platforms with tents nestled into the woods. And we have this fabulous chef who gives us 3 meals a day and supports us during our hard week of learning. And if you don't think of yourself as a camper, lots of people stay off campus. There's lots of great places to stay in the area, and it's just fine to stay off campus. So we did a webinar about a month ago where we had 5 little classes to give you a taste of the field campus. And so there was such enthusiasm, we said, okay, we'll do a couple more. So we're going to feature 3 of the artists at the field campus today. And we're doing this program as a fundraiser. The Friends have already been able to donate to San Francisco State over $100,000 to upgrade the facility. And our next big push is to remodel a kind of a basement classroom lab that is kind of a dark and dreary place. And our hope is to raise $75,000 plus. And during our webinar a month ago, a wonderful secret donor came forward and offered and put on the table a $10,000 match. And we are so far a little over $6,000 towards that match. So today is a fundraiser. So if you haven't given or you're inclined to give again, please go to the links in the chat or ask me again for those links, and I'll send them out in the chat. Every dollar you give today Not only will it go directly to the field campus, because the Friends is an all volunteer board, and we have no staff, we have no office, we just do everything as volunteers. Every dollar is going to be matched dollar for dollar by our donor. And she's really hoping that everyone will step forward. We only need to raise $4,000 more. So let's really please consider donating today. Okay, so I think that's it. Have I forgotten anything, Kristin?
My only thought is to, when people use the chat, to just do it to individual people and not to everyone, so it's not flashing up for the presenters.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick intro to our three artists, and then they're going to tell you more about themselves. I'll get out of the way, and hopefully you're set to speaker view so that they will be the only person on your screen. So first, we're going to have Joan Hoffman, who's here from Vermont, and she does en plein air painting at the field campus. Then Kristin Meuser will come in, who does a couple of nature journaling classes. And a special shout out and thanks to Kristin, because she's the one who designed our 2020 schedule, which was so gorgeously beautiful that we don't get to use. But we also developed a generic field campus brochure that's just beautiful, and next time you're on campus, you'll see that. And then last but not least, Bill Cohn, who's here to, his pictures are going to really bring you into the location of the field campus, and he has a lesson after that. And so I'm going to step out. Joan, are you ready to take over? Okay, then I'm going to say goodbye.
So, hello everybody. Let me get set up here. I appreciate your patience. Here we go. And I am excited for this Zoom class. I'm really excited for the fundraiser to help fix up the classroom, because my class, I have two classes scheduled for next year, I hope, and that is the Alpine en plein air painting class. And we use the classroom when we want to critique our paintings, so it would be wonderful to have new design in the classroom. The second class that I'll go over today too is the woodblock printing and design class. That's going to be one of the 3-day classes, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so the en plein air is a 5-day class. A little bit about myself. This is a painting I did last year on campus as a demo for the group, the painting group. And we're, let's see, I am a painter myself. I exhibit and I sell my work. I do watercolors and oils. And recently, last fall, I was the artist in resident in Zion National Park. And next year, it was going to be this year, but next year at Crater Lake, I'll be the artist in resident. I love to get outdoors and paint, and I love to paint with participants that come to the field campus and work individually with everybody to make us all better painters. So I teach a lot about techniques, about shape, value, color, and brushwork. So here's another demonstration painting from last year. And each class, I do a class in the morning and a class in the afternoon each day that you're there. We go outdoors. And I don't know, my class is in August, so we've never had a problem with rain or any, inclement weather. And we paint many different locations. One of them is right there at the field campus. This is the Yuba River in front and the director's cabin in back. We do a mini critique every art class, every session, and that's like an art show. And we work on what we want to do in the next painting. It's all about how to get to be, find those things we really like to paint, and not the subject matter, but how we like to paint. So I work with individuals in the group setting. A woman wanted to know how to do rocks, and so I did a little quick demo on how to put rocks in the Yuba River, or the demo of painting rocks in the Yuba River. And that's the demo, a small watercolor on the side. There's a lot of individual attention, and it's a wonderful place to be painting. I put this slide in. It shows you my painting gloves, my brushes, my Gorilla Box easel. That's a little 8x10 canvas. It'll do a 9x12 canvas as well. And sometimes I like to paint larger, so I can actually put a bigger canvas up there as long as it's not windy. The Gorilla Box, it holds everything for 1 or 2 paintings. There's no one perfect easel in my mind. Anything will do. And if you don't have an easel, just bring a chair, or there's even chairs at the field campus for you to use. So we figure it out. If you're a beginner, you're welcome. And if you're an experienced painter, you're also welcome. We just want to get out there and paint. Whoops, let's see. So I will use the same easel for watercolors, but I carry my watercolors in the Chico bag there. It's an over-the-shoulder bag. Long ago, Jack Muir's laws turned me on to that bag. Is pretty convenient. And then my brushes, and my favorite brush is that little short-handled Isabie brush, red squirrel. I carry a small palette, and I load it up each morning for the painting day, and I switch back and forth between watercolor and oils. You can bring any medium that you choose, and you can switch back and forth too in my class. It's not any one medium. I do a slideshow in the evening in my class. It's the history of American landscape painting. Of course, it's a brief history. You don't have to, spend the whole night listening to this slideshow. But Albert Bierstadt was painting in 1863 in the Colorado Rockies at 12,000 feet. This is the mountain he painted in oil, and this is subsequently named after Albert Bierstadt, Mount Bierstadt in the Colorado Rockies. So we learn about historical painters, and that helps us also put a perspective on our own work and our own style. Another wonderful American painter is Gunnar Widfrost. He painted in the 1920s. This is Half Dome. If you want to see more of his work, of course, you can go online, but you can also go to the Ahwahnee Hotel. They have their full sheets of watercolor paper painted on plein air in the 1920s, and it's just an incredible series of watercolors. And here's a little study that I did of Sierra Buttes. This is a location, I can't ever get tired of painting Sierra Buttes. It's a beautiful mountain, often with a little bit of snow left in August, and with Lake Sardine or Sand Pond. This painting, I'm at Sand Pond. The next lake up, you get a similar view called Sardine Lake. And then here we are painting from the meadow, and that meadow is below the little town of Bassett's. And we go to these locations. I'm fond of having a mountain backdrop is my favorite, but I love the waterfalls, and I love going to the river and painting the river as well. We found places along 49 even. I saw Bill, you'll see in Bill's presentation, I think it is, where they tucked along the highway to paint. It's idyllic views, but sometimes the painting location is not so idyllic. This little study was, I teach a lot about brushwork and how to use a brush, how much pressure to put on your brush, how to get the most out of each brush, and then how to loosen up. You can always tighten up as you do the painting, but if you need to start loose to be a loose painter. And I think it's fun to have some expression in your painting, some feel about how you felt about being in that location. And you'll never forget the real location once you paint it. So now I'm going to switch to my woodblock printing class. And this will be the first time I teach it at the field campus. Woodblocks had its heyday in America in the 1920s. It's also, a hugely popular thing to do right now is to do woodblocks. This is a brochure about the arts and crafts movement and the history of woodblock prints in America. It's, there's really a rich history of American art, and it's fun to delve into that in my classes. The woodblock process itself is a timeless art, started in Japan or China, moved to Japan, and it was, 3,000 years ago, maybe more than that. It's not even clear when the woodblock printing started. Here is a woodblock that will be something similar to what we're going to do in class. And you do not need to have any tools. You do not need to bring anything with you. I will supply all the tools and everything. And then we can print on regular copy paper or brown paper. We'll experiment with different fun things. And you'll go home with the ability to do your own woodblocks. And obviously, you might want to take another class or two. There's a lot, to learn about woodblocks. This print, I use the wood grain to print in the same color that I printed the block that I carved. So it's there's two blocks involved in this one. One of the most popular, historical woodblock print artists is Chiro Obata. There's a wonderful book, I believe it might be out of print by now, but it's called Obata's Yosemite. This is the cover of the book. He was a professor at UC Berkeley, and the book was produced in 1992, and then in the book you can find the series of a traditional way to do wood blocks. We're just going to get started. 3 days is going to just kick off the ability to do a wood block, but you can learn more about it if you were to look at this book or some other books about wood block printing. And another contemporary artist that some of you may know from the Bay Area is Tom Killian, and he's a printmaker in the woodblock medium. And this is a woodblock and the cover of his book that he did with Gary Snyder. I believe it's still in print, but I could be wrong on that. Any of these art books you can get, usually secondhand, and well worth looking at the books. So another artist, less well known, this Ted Lindemuth, did wood blocks in the 20s, and this one, Low Tide, it just says it all in woodblock. They don't have to be complicated. They don't have to have a lot in them. It's just an expression, and the wood, it's a collaboration with the wood and the artist. And we'll be using a single color of ink, but like I said, we can print the wood grain, or we can print leaves. We can print all kinds of things to add to the woodblock that we carve. Here is the set of tools and the brayer and the things that I will be bringing so that the class can all work on wood blocks. We'll be doing, working on them pretty much throughout the day. You can take breaks. You can go out and discover nature and what you can find in nature. within reason, that we could bring back like a leaf or something to print. You can see over in the lower left corner is a handout on the carving. So how to carve. Wood blocks, in a sense, are a four-step process. You design the image, you transfer to the wood, you then carve the image, and you print the image. And frankly, every step of the way is an art form in itself, but you can do it. I know you can. Here is some student work. I've taught the class for many years, a 1-day or 2-day class at Point Reyes and at Artistry in Vermont. So these are holiday cards, and here's another set of student work. You can see in that lower left corner a non-objective wood block. The block was carved, and it's half of the image. It was printed, turned upside down, and the other half of the image was made with the same block printed twice. So there's lots of fun little things we can do to enhance a wood block and to collaborate with wood. And that's it. I want to wrap it up. Thank you.
Hello. I'm really happy to meet with you today. There's almost no other place that I love as much as the field campus. I used to go to Yosemite every year for many years with my family. And I have to say that the Sierra Buttes and the Lakes Basin area has really taken my heart. If you're gonna, if you will, I have to pause for just a minute so I can get this to go into a slideshow. Just a second here, and I will start right again. So, can everyone see me? Can everyone see this?
We can see you, but we don't see
Okay,
your screen share.
All right, let me do this. Sorry. All right. Oh, I've lost my Zoom. Okay, here we go. All right.
We don't see your screen share yet.
Yeah. Okay. For some reason it's, do you see it now? Okay, you see it now, right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So I love the Sierra Buttes. I love the field campus. I love everything about that whole area. My background is that I went to UC Berkeley, have a degree in fine art, and then I became a graphic designer, and most of my years were spent doing graphic design. But on vacations, I made these little miniature watercolors, and they really had kind of a way of bringing me back to the present moment. They felt spiritual. They felt just a lovely way to focus my attention on where I was. And so about 10 years ago, I went to the Sierra Nevada field campus and took a class from Jack Laws. And that experience helped me realize how important words are to a page or to add to a painting, that they add this whole new kind of way of describing your experience in nature. And that was a real important gift to me. I also took a class from Andy Thrams, and she really, her beautiful way of teaching and sharing color matching and the way she mixes color. And from there, I really learned to enjoy the color matching dots that I use in all of my paintings. And Sarah Radkin not only encouraged me to teach, but also helped me with my writing. And Bill Cohn, I took a workshop with him there, and he helped me with light. He's a master with light and water. And last but not least, J.R. Blair, who always was so cheerful and encouraged me so much as I began teaching. So I began teaching, this would have been my 7th year. I have started teaching a couple of classes at a time during the summer. The ones that I was planning on teaching, but hopefully will be teaching next year, is one is how to create a Sierra wildflower guide. And the other one is how to design a page of memories. These are for all levels of people, no matter what your experience is. It's really about learning to work in the field with a journal and doing sort of quick renderings of your subjects and writing, and really kind of putting aside the whole idea of trying so hard to make a beautiful painting. That will come, as Jack Laws always says, with experience and with attention. But my classes are all about really paying attention, looking deeply, feeling where you are. And so I love teaching. I have been teaching online classes since May. I teach one every week. And it keeps my practice alive, and it keeps my connection to my students, who I love. And so this is an introduction to the kit that I use. So we do use all the same kit, and it's one of the focus is matching colors. We spend the first night, Sunday night, working with our kits, and then the next morning we go to Fraser Falls, usually at the picnic tables, and we do our first experimentation with color mixing. The kit is really simple, and it focuses on not so much choosing color, but learning how to intuitively take a color and mix it in a way that really matches what you're looking at. And this is basically the kit. It has a journal, a palette with 8 colors in it, 3 primaries, and there's a water brush, a blue pencil, a graphite pencil, and a gel pen. Before we get going, usually the night before, the afternoon before, I present a teaching aid that helps people kind of simplify what they're going to be looking at during the next day's painting and journaling experience. So we go to a different location every day. It's usually waterfalls, lakes, meadows, creeks. I try to get people into as many different locations as possible because it's just an amazing place. And of course, wildflowers. There are just many areas where there are just multiple wildflowers, which is my passion. In the morning, we meet in the parking lot, and we use all of our senses to explore what is there, with the sound of the birds, even the sound of the highway, the smells, the feeling of the wind on our bodies, the temperature of the day. And we often call out those things. Each person who feels called to call out will do that. If we're lucky, we have someone who knows a little bit of yoga or movement, and we do a little bit of that. And I always read a poem, and I invite my students to bring poetry too. So that kind of sets the stage for our outing. On location, I always do a demo, and then from there, people take off and do their own painting, and we have lunch, and we may paint some more, and then we head back either to take a nap or go for a swim in one of the beautiful lakes. One of the really important parts of the workshop is sharing our work regularly. So we share every day, and it helps create a really bond between the students, and we get to see each other progress and do things that we wouldn't have thought of doing ourselves. So we learn a lot from each other. So I'm going to share with you my process of nature journaling. Basically, I like to create a page with various elements, but that comes after I've kind of wandered, unplugged if you're in a place where you have internet or cell service, which we don't up at the field campus, which is kind of handy. Well, we do a little bit right on campus. But we wander about and then follow the call to what really calls to you. And then we choose a spot, each person, and then again, use your senses to pull in pull yourself into that location. You might read a poem, but definitely I encourage people to write notes. So you can see in this a little journal page, I've put in a landscape, a slice of the Sierra Buttes, the time, the place. And then I write a little bit more about the swirl of the blues at the top of Fraser Falls.
No, I can get it. One will use keep around. So.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know if someone was talking to me. And
too. Really make yourself crazy.
Okay.
I know, but I'm gonna have 3 things going.
So there are 4 basic elements. There are words, as I mentioned, miniature landscapes, close-ups, and color matching dots. So as you see on the right, there is a landscape of the Fraser Falls, which is off in the distance. There were butterflies, there were bugs, and this was a combination of various locations. There is also a yellow belly marmot that crossed. Now, I didn't do that on location. I did a little sketch and then I brought it back and I looked it up in a field guide. So that's always a possibility. What I hope for in our sketches is not for perfection, but enough information so that when we go back and get a field guide, if we don't have one with us, we can identify what we've been looking at. Words give your paintings a voice and they help create a sense of place. So down below it says, I hear you, bumblebee. So I wouldn't have necessarily known that that was a sound and then a vision that brings that whole page to life. You can see the color matching dots that give a sense of the palette of the day. And notes can give scientific interest. They don't have to be prose or feelings. They can just be plain old notes. But they shift the focus from making art to documenting your experience in nature. They can also add emotional depth with prose and poetry. Can further intensify your participation in that day and serve as a memory, so that when you go back to that page, you not only see the images and remember where you were, but you can feel how you were feeling that day. The miniature landscapes create a specific location for your close-up sketches. So I always like to have people do a sense of place landscape so that you locate yourself, and then everything else is kind of fills in. So this little, if you see it, look at the landscape on the far right, there's a little circle on top of one of those posts about halfway down the painting. And down below is the close-up of that willet that was sitting on that post for a very long time. Color matching docs create a graphic element. I'm a graphic designer, so I really love to lay out a page in a way that pulls it all together and feels, I fill in with a lot of white spaces with a lot of either notes or color matching dots. And then I always, along with that sense of place painting, we want to work with detail and really get up close to some of those images that we see along the way. And it makes for a good color matching. The closer you get, the more you can actually see the color. I use close focus binoculars that you can buy on John Muir Law's website. But they allow you to get as close as 18 inches. And so you can actually see the hairs on the stems of the flowers. And just as you can see more detail, you can see more color. So this whole exercise of looking, color matching and all, is teaching you to see more color, see more, spend enough time to really appreciate things that you may not have appreciated when you walk by. And then I really encourage people to use multiple images or elements on the page, including the mini landscape, the color matching dots, the close-ups and words. The whole page tells a rich story and takes the emphasis off of each individual painting. A lot of people get hung up on this one painting. And if you have multiple things going on, you can sort of give yourself a break and really get back to, okay, let's fill this page with some images from our day. So to get started on a painting day, I sit quietly. I ask people to tap into your senses, title your page with where you are, the time of day, the temperature. Write some notes about each of your images. Do your mini landscapes and then dig into the details. These are a number of different mini landscapes plus some details of this beautiful branch, curling trunk actually. But writing about it, the trunk of the tree curls and winds along the rocks before it finds its way to the light. What an adaptation. So that kind of description really brings that memory to life. For my students, I encourage them to organize their work on a grid. So it not only organizes the page, it also encourages people to spend some time definitely doing their color matching dots, a landscape, close-ups, and writing. So this is basically a 2 wide by 2 deep. This is 3 wide by 3 deep, basically. It's a way of sort of sensing that, the page and how it falls together. And sometimes I fill in, sometimes I will do a certain area, but I'll get to more of the flexibility of the grid in a minute. They can overflow into, they don't all have to sit in one area. It's almost better if they kind of fill in the white spaces. And this is another one where the waterfalls takes 2 compartments, and some of the others just take 1. Notice the notes and the mini landscape span 2 rows. So this time we're going horizontally and spanning 2 rows. And once you're comfortable with using a grid, bend the rules by filling in open areas with wrap text and overlapping objects. This is a painting done in Red Rock where I live in the desert when it's cool enough to go out in the morning. And it just gives you an idea of the richness of the desert and in contrast, but also in parallel to the richness of what we see in at the field campus. So I want to thank you. I hope that you'll think about joining one of my online classes, and definitely think about joining me next year at the field campus. And so that's the end of my presentation. So on to Bill. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kristin and Sarah and Joan and the field campus. It's really a treat to see everyone. It's actually, it's just so touching, actually. The I've never met Joan. I know Kristin, of course, and it's just fun to see, there's so many different ways that people approaching how to engage in nature and how to deal with art and things like that. So it's very much a treat. Let's see, I will share my screen. See, hopefully I'll get this right. Okay, here we go. Okay, one more time. Play. How's this? Okay, Kristin, can you tell me, can you see the big black screen?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, I'm good to go. All right, this is the name of the class I've been teaching at the Buttes for, I guess, about 10 years. I took an astronomy class there about 14 years ago. And the whole time I was like, wow, they're teaching science here. And then I realized Sarah Radkin was, I think, already teaching a writing class. And then I saw Jack Laws had the birding, sketching, how to draw birds. And I thought, well, how about more landscape painting? Because it's really nice up there. This is the most unromantic picture of the field campus you can imagine, but it's, in some ways, you just think of a location. There's this big old brown building that used to be a Boy Scout camp, and then the top burned down, so it's only 2 stories instead of 3. And it's a dining hall that also works as a classroom. There's obviously a kitchen on the upper right. And then downstairs, there's another classroom and a lab, and then a lot of facility stuff, bathrooms, which have been remodeled. And so you think, it's just this place. And yet, the first thing, if a teacher, I've taught upstairs and downstairs, how do you turn a dining hall into a classroom by, I unpin some wildlife posters, pin up a bunch of my work so people can see examples without me staring at them. They can just go over and look at it, bring up some art books, and then I just write all the secrets of art on the whiteboard at the end of the room. And my class starts on like a Sunday afternoon or evening. We meet up around 5 o'clock, and we got a little wine and cheese, and we introduce ourselves to each other. Then we have dinner in the dining hall. I might give a little talk, and then often the first night we'll go out to Sardine Lake or down to this meadow, and we just start getting to work, because the classroom is really outside in a way. I do lectures inside and things like that, but we're there to paint outside, and so that's what we do. And it continues the next day. Just in camp, there's a lot of forest. We're in a forest, and so I'll just do some quick demos. And everywhere we go, I'll set up and paint. And some people like to watch what I'm doing, and I do advise that people actually watch me paint a little bit, but they're there to paint too, which is exactly what they should be doing as well. So I'll paint, and then I start feeling guilty, so I'll start walking around and seeing what other people are working on. So we paint in camp. We paint the river, obviously. The headwaters of the North Fork of the Yuba are running right through the campground. So we look at a lot of water and we paint water. And of course, I assign colors to everyone because I can't remember their names. So I just call them by pink, green, things like that. And then we get outside of the campus. Within about 25 minutes or so, you can be down in the Sierra Valley. So you can get these big wide open spaces to paint, where you're looking through a lot of air, and you can see atmosphere and the colors and the color shift in nature like that. And so it's very dynamic and lovely. And so you're not just painting intimate close-up things. You can paint big spaces with a lot of color change and value change and things like that. And you have the opportunity to find locations where you're like, that's a great view. Of course, it's right on the highway. So, but as long as you're sort of on the opposite side of the guardrail, I think it's pretty safe. And some of these places have some pretty wide turnouts. And what you're really after is that beautiful juxtaposition of the foreground and the background. It's a wonderful thing to paint. And it's that whole idea where once you're reducing a scene down to these very simple elements, in a sense, a flat plane that represents three-dimensional reality, and you're comparing this color relationships between foreground and background, and when you get a scene like this, you just have this sort of unequivocal difference between one thing and the other that your rational mind cannot overcome. It knows a tree might be green, but in the distance it's no longer green. And so it's evidence that is really a joy to paint, actually. So there's an attempt to do it. And another place that's pretty unique is Upper Sardine Lake. It's about a 15-minute drive to Lower Sardine, and then you hike up a Jeep trail or take a Jeep, Leslie, and you get up there and you got this beautiful placid lake in the morning. The breeze usually comes up in the afternoon. And every year it's different. Here it is, the lake's a lot higher. Another year, a lot more snow on the mountain. And there was a lot of forest fires going on not too far away. So there was an incredible amount of smoke. But as a painter, that's opportunity. It's because of the atmosphere. It just separates foreground and background in a different way. It's actually at much closer range, things start changing. The value starts to shift. So it's actually, it's unfortunate maybe, but it's actually interesting to paint under those circumstances. About midweek or so, we always share our work in a variety of ways. A lot of people are professional artists in their own right, or they're working in the film business, or they do their own work. And so we have show and tells where people actually just talk about the work they're doing outside of class. And then we also have sort of a midweek thing where we put all the work out in the dining hall and just talk about that. And it's a non-specific critique. People just look at what each other have done. And then you always learn as much or more from the students than you do from the teacher, I think, if you take advantage of it, because you have all those points of view, all those ways people are seeing things that are different than your own. And you might want some of what they're doing, like, oh, I didn't think of that color, or, oh, that's how you pick that thing, or I tried to paint that, or whatever. And so you can learn just by seeing all these alternative viewpoints from other people's minds and hearts that offer up something that you can, that's inspiring. People are getting tired, they start sitting down to paint, and then some people just, it's an exhausting process, all this plein air work. One of the places we paint usually near the end of the week is meadows. They're just this kind of lovely, placid environment. There's a good one at the top of Yuba Pass. So we'll get up there on the last day of class, and I know it looks a little congested, doesn't it? But it's a beautiful location because of suddenly you have all these intimate things going on that just draw you in, and they're big issues in painting, like, foreground and background, or light and shadow, and then the color of things like a white flower like the yarrow blossom in shadow, then going into sunlight, and then that reversal of value where it's silhouetted against the light, and vice versa. It's brighter than the grass. All these things, the weave of the grass, the shadows inside of shadows, and these sort of conga line dancing aspen trees that are out there. So every time I go up there and paint, I just get completely beguiled and start thinking about the mysteries of the meadow, and that class is over and I just want to go back here and paint all day. So that's the sort of the nature of the world up there. At the end of the class, we just use that big brown box of a dining hall as a giant pop-up art gallery, and we just pin everything up on the wall. And then we have a discussion about it, and the way we limit the discussion, everyone talks about their work, and we all can throw comments in. And so you see that shadow on the left, when the sun comes over the dining hall, and so the shadow is gone and we're all baking in the sun, that's the end of class. And we've done enough for that year. But it's a wonderful experience every single time. As my sort of more instructive moment here, I want to talk a little more about water. which is a deep topic. And this is Loves Falls, the North Fork of the Yuba. It's below camp about, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles maybe. We go there every year and paint. And so I'm going to give you some ideas about water to think about. I keep trying to refine this. This is a lithograph by M.C. Escher. It's called Three Worlds. And he's referring to reflection and the surface and everything underneath the water. Those are the trio of things going on there. And here's a way of looking at it, that reflection is on the surface. The surface itself could have things on it like leaves or bubbles, and then there's motion, which takes place on the surface. That's where it's most evident visually. Even though the current could be underwater, you'll see motion because it distorts reflection and it distorts what's underneath if the water's moving. Then under the water, you got the color of the water itself. It could be very clear, or it could have sediment in it. It might be reddish or brownish. It could be greenish because of algae, things like that in the water. And then it's also, it changes color because of the depth of the water. The deeper it gets, the bluer it gets, because the density of the water absorbs the warm light and scatters the blue around. So everything starts to get blue. You can see that even in a bathtub, when about 8 inches of water, you can see blue in the bathtub even. It's not like the water's actually blue, it's just reflecting blue light. And then if you can see the bottom, that plays a role in things. Another sort of wild card variable is cast shadows, and cast shadows underwater are different than cast shadows above water. So if you look, upper left is the eye. And so all these things appear in the eye at the same time. The reflection, the surface, and everything below the surface all show up on the same plane. And in your painting, they're all on the same plane. So you're dealing with simultaneous imagery laying on top of itself, but in a painting, it's next to itself, essentially, one color next to another to some degree. And if you add cast shadows, you see this sort of effect as well. So here's a few assumptions about it. The brighter effect overwrites the darker one. So if the sky is reflecting over the bottom of the lake or the color of the lake, you'll see the sky more than the other thing. If the bottom of the creek is brighter than the reflection of a tree in the water, the creek will be visible inside of that tree reflection. And don't worry, I'm going to show you examples of all of this. And then this concept that water changes color as it gets deeper. And it means it's absorbing warm colors and it's reflecting blue light, basically. And that happens at close range. And the bottom one is a critical one, even though it's visible in a funny way. It changes the contrast in colors. So water is a lot denser than air, which is obvious, but it behaves very much like air in that it has atmosphere, but it happens within a few inches, not like a mile or 100 feet, where you can see like the forest fire smoke changes the value in the world. Water changes the value in the world, even clear water, really close up. And I'll show you examples. Here is a lake, and it's an alpine lake, Garnet Lake. The water's sort of a dark turquoise, and then the reflection, that thing in the water is like a wind riffle across a very placid body of water. But the reflection, you'll see that it's not the same value as the thing. The rock is one value and the reflection is not as bright. And it's easy to assume, especially when you're looking at placid water, that it will be the same color, but it's often not. And it's worth just comparing. Is the reflection the same value and the same color as the real thing? And the other issue there is, what's going on is really that the reflection is not 100% opaque, and that the value of the lake itself is actually pulling down the value of the reflection. Here's another example. If you look at the sky on the left, and then you look at the tree line, and then look at the reflection of the trees and the sky and the lake. The trees are darker in the lake, and the sky is darker in the lake than it is above the water, so to speak. And here's the interesting part, is where you look where the trees are reflecting in the water, you can see the bottom of the lake. And that's because the bottom of the lake is brighter than the reflection of the trees, if that makes sense. Here's one more example of that. This is the creek that runs inside of camp, the Yuba, right? So we're looking down into that creek, and the trees are reflecting into the creek from across the way there. And so that whole dark area is tree reflection within, you can see the bottom of the creek because it's brighter than the reflection of the trees itself. Then you're looking down into the creek at the bottom of the painting. That's the sky reflecting, but you can see how dark the sky is. That's because there's a cast shadow running across the creek there. And so there's a really dark value that reflection is sitting on top of. It pulls down the effective value of the sky. One more time. The sky is only reflected in that pond in that lower right pyramid shape of blue. The rest of that pond is reflecting the ridge of a mountain peak. That's Mount Banner above that melt pond above Garnet Lake. So you can see as the bottom of that pond, you can see a color shift in the midground where that it's getting blue-green. That's kind of a sandy area, and it's getting just deep enough to start to change color. Then you have those boulders that are, well, those rocks have really just been crushed flat by a glacier. Those shadows of those little pancakes, you see as they go into the reflection of the sky, you can see they're still there, but now the shadows themselves have turned blue because the sky reflection is sitting on top of that value. One more time, this is it, Upper Sardine Lake. The water is getting deeper from left to right. So when you get near the shore, you see more local color underwater, and then you go to the right, it gets bluer and bluer. You lose the reds and all the warm colors start to disappear. If you look at the far left, you can see little shadow areas, the water line, and then as soon as the shadow goes under the water, it turns blue. Why? Because the whole lake is reflecting the sky. And so that sky color is sitting on top of that shadow value. In addition, the density of the water is washing out the value of those shadows. So you see that dark shadow on land, it becomes this washed out shadow underwater, and it turns blue because it's reflecting the sky. Now, I know this sounds like pedantic, but you can go looking for this stuff. It helps you sort of decode. It looks like, oh, this is an unreasonable moving jigsaw puzzle to paint. But start thinking about why it's happening, and it helps calm you down, or you just analyze it into like behavioral things that you can manage a little easier instead of painting sort of the ongoing chaos of nature. Here's one more time where you can see the cast shadows at the top are on dry land, and they're very dark, and the cast shadows underwater, and those are only about, 18 inches deep. They're all washed out because the sunlight is passing in front of that shadow, and the density of the water is just scattering all that light at a high rate. So you cannot see a really dark shadow like that. All right. That's about all I got to say about that. So be observant, like what's reflecting in the water, sky, trees, boulders, and can you see a difference in value between the reflection and the real object? And then compare the shadow values and colors above and below the water. Look for a difference. And then also look for the changing color as the water gets deeper. These are all things that happen whether you're looking for them or not. They're gonna, they're just operating principles in nature on our planet. When you're in nature, it's always this immersive thing. And I always feel like teaching up there is just a chance to immerse again and then be part of a community of like-minded souls. And, I just hope to teach up there again. I think of that place as a catalyst for inspiration and learning and community, basically. So thanks very much. Think about helping out the SNFC and all those things. And okay, let's see. Stop sharing. All right, we're good?
Thanks, Bill. You can stay on if you want. Joan and Kristin, if you want to come on. I actually don't have any questions in the chat for the artists, but I hope everybody who's, I just realized I turned my camera off. I hope everybody who's been in this presentation really gets a sense of how the artists bring us so much closer to our experience in nature. It is such a deepening of our connection. And that's what happens at the field campus, whether it's through art or learning about the butterflies or birdsong or hiking. We have a unique opportunity in the field campus. There just aren't many places like this anywhere in the country where you can take a 1-week class that's very affordable and have instructors that have national renown or in some cases international renown. So today's a fundraiser. So I really hope you'll consider giving, helping us to meet our match, thanking our secret donor for her generosity and inspiring quite a few donations so far, but we've got $4,000 to go. So it would be really great if people pitched in. Okay, I see a few chat things coming in. So wonderful, thank you. I feel like I got to be up at the campus for a precious hour. Somebody else said she just made another donation. Lots of interesting chats coming through. I hope you can read these. And from Sushma in Mumbai, I guess you got in. I'm so glad to hear that. So if people want to hang around, you can unmute yourself and we can go back into talking to each other for maybe about 15 minutes. And Dee, I will just put information in the chat about how to make a donation. I can put it in there again. And let me just do that. All right, check the chat again. You can mail a check to our address in Nevada's Grass Valley or go to the Friends of SNFC.org and there's a PayPal link there. Okay, so feel free to unmute yourself and come back into the room and I'll go to gallery view so we can see everybody. Oh, we
I would just like
announcements. We have a couple of announcements before people start talking. Kristin, you want to go first?
Oh, okay. Well, I am planning on, if there's enough interest, giving a 1-hour workshop to all of you, just free, but hopefully you will make some donations. So please, please fill out the poll and let us know if you'd like to have me do that.
Yeah, we can, they can send an email to the field campus email address and let us know if there's interest. Kristin will offer a 1-hour class for a donation to the Friends. And we really appreciate it. Our instructors have all donated their time. We miss you. We know you miss us. And this is our way of connecting. And so we are going to do one more Zoom meeting. It's going to be August 16th, which is a Sunday. And the announcement for that, I think, is going to go out on Tuesday. We're still nailing down a few details. The class is going to be featuring 2 of our College of Extended Learning classes. And those are our credit classes that are offered at the field campus every summer. So the first one's going to be Flora of the Northern Sierra Nevada, and Tanya Baxter, who's a botanist, is going to do a 30-minute presentation on the flora of the area. And then Brian Perry is going to do a 30-minute class on the fungi of the Northern Sierra Nevada. And we're trying to work out getting him on, he wants to do a dissection on camera. And so we're sort of trying to work out how we can make that happen on Zoom. And so he's working on that this weekend. So you'll look for us on Facebook, or if you're on our email list, you'll get the notice. But that'll be our last Zoom fundraiser of the summer. And okay, I think that's it. And yes, Bill, The link to this presentation will be on YouTube. It takes a day or so to get it from Zoom, and then I have to upload it to YouTube, and I'll certainly get that out to all the people who weren't able to attend.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let JR talk.
I'd love to say,
Sure.
that's it. Thanks. Go ahead, JR.
all right, thank you, everybody. So I apologize, there's a little bit of a lag time here because of the satellite internet, but I am at the field campus. And if you actually need a little proof, there's some laundry hanging over there in the typical place. And anyway, I am up here with a couple of staff doing deferred maintenance and kind of keeping an eye on the place, and it's as beautiful as ever. But we really do miss you. It's beautiful but sad. And so those of you who've been here before, I wish you were here. Those of you who haven't been here, I wish you were here too. But I really want to just say a few thanks to, first of all, our presenters. So Joan, Kristin, and Bill, thank you so much. That was really inspiring, and I even learned a little bit as a non-artist, but that was really fun. And I want to thank the friends of the Sierra Nevada Field Campus. Mary, you've done a fabulous job in putting this together and helping me out throughout the last few years. And Bill and Sarah and everybody else, getting me all choked up here. But thank you so much for all you've done. It's the amount of money that you've raised so far is really fantastic, and has gone a long ways, and has really brightened up the place a lot. The bathrooms look fabulous, and thank you so much for that. And I want to thank all the rest of you who have donated to the Friends. All of that money goes right to the field campus, and for upgrades and for just sprucing up the place and for helping out the operation here. So really, really thank you for that. Even if you can't afford to donate right now, and I totally understand that, thank you for participating. We had almost 90 people that came to our Zoom meeting today, and that's fabulous to see that kind of interest. Well, I'm going to sign off, so thank you very much again, and hope to see you next year.
Hi, JR.
Thanks for coming.
I also want to thank Mary for all the incredible work she does, from registration to putting on these webinars. It's like more than a full-time job, and it's all volunteered. So she has helped keep the field campus alive and with a future, and we're all incredibly indebted to everyone who's made that work. But I know Mary has just been amazing. So thank you.
Well, it's been because I love this place so much, and our donors have all come from our student population. We haven't gone outside to try and get grants and stuff, but our students just are so dedicated, and we so love our experience there every summer. There's just no other place like it, and I treasure that. And you get to be part of it by donating. And when you come, you say, I helped make this happen, make it a better place, increase our registration, cast the web a little wider. Thank you. Thanks, Kristin.
Thank you.
And thank you, JR, always.
Oh, and I can't wait to see the campus. I mean, the Friends of Sierra Nevada Field Campus have done a wonderful job upgrading, and it's wonderful to come back each year and see the new things going on.
I'm going up on Monday to Sierra City, and so I'm going to get some pictures of the men's bathroom to show everybody, and hopefully a few things have been started on the lab, our next new effort. So I know you just are going to love having a warm classroom down there.
The contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wants things to move yesterday.
They haven't even started on the stuff they were supposed to work on this summer, have they?
Right? No, they're still trying to get a contract.
Well, permits or anything haven't
Right.
been.
Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to chat with anybody in the room.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm, they're upgrading the bathrooms. Yes, okay, but it's always been funny. The internet is so lousy up there, and all these people are clustered around this tiny hotspot near the cabin. They just look like wretches, kind of like civilization. But I just think that I hope they don't really upgrade the internet. I'm all for better accommodations, but there's something about being disconnected and the fact that it just doesn't work too well there, and it makes you just focus on nature and being in the present and not just naturally disconnected the way you often are.
Right. Well, you'd be glad to know, Bill, that the Friends and the university can do nothing about the internet.
Good.
That's an artist speaking.
Yeah.
The researchers have a different idea.
I hear you, JR. We're just Luddites,
Hey, Bill, you were going to
Well,
take your
he's
camera
right.
around your studio a little bit. Show us your studio.
All right. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I pinned up a bunch of stuff from I painted up at the field campus. I'm working from home, so there's a brief view of film work for Pixar. You can't see it or I'll get in trouble. And then this is sort of the rest of the room. These are just things I've been working on the last few months, basically, and then back around, and that's pretty much it. I got a little north light here at the end of the room. It's an old bedroom that we just punched out a couple of walls. I live in the suburbs,
Show us your palette, please.
My what?
Your palette,
Well,
your pastel palette.
it's just a big mess. Can you see that?
That's what we want to see. How do you do nice art with a mess?
It looks like dirty dishes, basically. It's nothing too pretty. It's just it's a messy work environment. It's the way I like it.
Bill, do you work indoors ever?
Yeah, I do. I mean, those are all done inside. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah, the Pixar.
Yeah, I mean, but I started going outside to paint just to get out of the office, kind of, or to learn how to use the pastels. So I didn't really want to go inside and work on pastels because I was doing it for my job, and so it was like I want to be outside. Now I realize there's a lot of value in being inside and working. Also, there's a contemplative approach. I'm not as disciplined, I think, as I should be. Once I'm inside, I get antsy and look for distractions. But you can build something in a studio that it's sort of this split thing. Nature gives you all this inspiration. You can construct something in your house that's far more elaborate than you could ever do on the spot in nature, in my opinion. But nature gives you so much inspiration and sort of the sensory input that you sort of absorb. And then I think it's the bigger challenge is to go into the house, into the studio, and bring that back out, and then make something that has more depth, more of an idea to it, maybe that you couldn't have possibly done on the spot. Or there are painters now, like Jim McVicker, for example. They'll go to the same spot outside over and over again. They'll paint, their backyard, or they'll go to the coast, and they just keep hauling a big painting out there and working on it. So there's ways of sort of still going back to nature to do it, but the studio has a real value. It's just that I don't think I've fully gotten used to it, that's all.
When did you realize you loved pastels as opposed to other mediums?
It was just an accident. Art director on Toy Story, Ralph Eggleston, did a color script for that movie while I was working. I was doing set design, and he just put it together in his office over a couple of months, and I just saw that, and I thought, oh, I want to do that, you know. And so I wanted to do a color script because I thought it would be an educational tool to learn about color and film and all this. And I just thought, oh, they're done in pastel because he did his in pastel. And of course, you could do it in any medium you want. And so in fact, I couldn't really do it effectively in pastel because I was so bad at it. So I started practicing to do it by going outside to paint, just like at lunchtime and stuff. And that was in about 1996, something like that.
Great. Well, thanks, everybody. Artists, we're going to come back in a few minutes to debrief, but I think we'll say goodbye. And many thanks for you for giving your time so generously. It's really been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, wait, one last question. Is there a website we can reach you at, Bill?
Yeah, like it's like billcohn.blogspot.com. I'm on Facebook as well. My blog is pretty quiet. I post workshops, like there's any workshops right now. But I'm on Facebook as well.
Okay.
You can find me there.
Yeah, just Google Bill because I couldn't put in a specific website for him in the chat. Just Google him and you'll find lots.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, Otto.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. I really disappointed that I missed his workshop, but you know what? I'm looking forward to the next one.
Fantastic. I hope you're on our list to get notified. Registration's January 1st. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully see you in
Bye.
August.
See you
Bye
next
bye.
year.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.